Well, I was wanting to see a retracement back up today into this area. We're pretty much there. So I wanted to see the downsloping upper median line on the 15-minute, which we've got now. But this is freaking me out right here. I don't know. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. Maybe that's A, B. See, I don't think the C wave is done just yet. I don't know. I do think we have one more wave down. Yeah, and back to the computer. I mean, it is a brand spanking new computer. And I just want to make sure it's set up properly, you know? It was definitely not running according to what I had expected. It was running much worse than was acceptable. And when you throw Zoom into the mix, well, then everything starts lagging, and it just, you know, it's a horrible, horrible user experience. So not just for me, but for you guys as well, I would imagine. Yeah, so one of the row bars was stuck at a totally different price than all the other minute charts, and 6E never would, excuse me, 6E never would catch up, which is why I had to close it. I didn't want to mention all of that in real time, of course, but seeing as you made that comment, I felt like maybe I should. So this is the area that I wanted to pull back to. One of them. This, you know, there's a couple of more other ones. Alt Control Shift E. It's very odd that this thing just simply will not save in real time, and it's got to be a setting somewhere. It's Alt. Maybe this is why. Maybe I should export it and see. Today is the 22nd. Okay, well, that didn't seem to take. Okay, here we go. Now it's working. And besides that, I actually have a magnificent looking desk now, which is this is really starting to peeve me here. Every time I change it, that becomes the new command for Radeon AMD. It's pretty fishy. Alt Control Shift O, how about that? does not want to change. This is all very bizarre. Oh well. Sorry guys, it was locked. That's the problem. We'll go an extra 45 minutes today as well. Control Shift up. And there we go. If you don't work now, then I blow you up. Literally. There we go. So the gap is actually at the close high. No, I'm sorry, the gap was right there. But we do have a gap back here, which we filled about 30%, 25% of. I doubt we make it back above that. I was saying that I'd love to see it actually break that high. I don't know if that would even look right. We would be at the top of that channel though. That's 33.31. It is turning up from the bottom of the channel on the 10-minute ETH chart. So, I do think we have at least one more wave down. Yeah. It's that midline too. Let's just see. We may have a long setup if it goes down and makes one more C wave down because it's at a lower high at the moment. It's at that 33.31, the heart of this volume. Oof, that's really going to look good if it goes up and breaks 33.31. Yeah, it is indeed. And I would think that that would end up being wave 2 of 3. Or, yeah, at that point it would have to be, wouldn't it? Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. The volume's very low to you. Okay, let me see if I can do something about that. Surely I can. It's all the way up on Zoom. Could be the distance from my mouth, but you don't want it too close to that thing. Lord knows. Just like Isaiah said. Yeah, that's all right just beyond the break of that high. Okay. I think we have a pretty good idea as to where we would like it to go. Now, where will it go? Yeah, sorry I got defensive on you there, but I mean, it's, my computer is my, well, if you knew what I've been through with computers for the past 7 months, which actually I think you do. Maybe it makes more sense in that context. If my computer is not sorted out, then this doesn't go very well. What I'm trying to do at the moment with Zoom and you guys. Is it still possibly a wave 4? I don't think so. Not from there at least, but if that's the E wave, that can for sure be the, well, not, okay, it's acceptable for it to be a wave 1 down. I'll show you what I mean. Like such. I don't know if I would say that's 2. 1, 2, 3. Nah, that would have to be 3, 1, 2. It doesn't really make sense. That would have to be 2 there. And then that would be 3. And this would be 4 coming up directly. And then one more wave down. Unless it's a double 3 and it's already over, huh? So again, that is, I'm going to say that's the, I really should have this count. It's the way this is written doesn't even make any sense. Let me just shut up for a minute and clean this up. Yeah, and my computer issues stem from not only me being kind of inept at electronics and all the latest tech, but also because of the fact that it's not me clicking on stuff. I'm quite aware that, you don't click on bad links or random strange links that may seem questionable, or stay away from dirty sites. That stuff's bad for the brain anyway, much less the eyes, much more the eyes. But it can come from anywhere. You don't have to click on stuff nowadays. They can just know your address and your IP address. And if you're not masked and you don't have a proper firewall, well, it's not really all that difficult to take your stuff these days. Look it up. When I tell people, I was hacked, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. What does that even mean? Well, it means that some jackass in Russia or wherever wanted my code, and he did his damnedest to get it. And he's probably got it. And he left me a big FU on his way out to make sure that things would not go very smoothly for a few days. And it worked. So that's what that means. I wish this were some fairy tale and I had made it all up. It would sound more feasible, reasonable, but unfortunately, it's no fairy tale. But thankfully, I'm pretty sure that it's close to impenetrable. I hope. Unless I do accidentally click on something stupid, which I definitely will not. Yeah, see, we're at the top of the ETH channel. All it has to do is tick 3291. Yeah, or somebody in any state. Doesn't matter what country. All the IP addresses that we found were from the US, so, but that's meaningless. That means nothing. When I say we, I mean Google and Microsoft, really Microsoft, which I found surprising. But I did have to pay the guy privately. Google was about worthless, basically. Told me everything I already knew. Will we make it down to there? Yeah, it looks like we probably will. I'd say we have a short coming up directly. I'm going to leave that one there. There we go. That's it. That's the one. Yep. And if we break through this, then of course, this would be more indicative of a big wave 2 decline. Well, by the time we put in that B wave high, we'll have a slightly flatter, less rise over run, or run over rise. A less sloping channel to the downside. Lower degree of slope. So this area will end up becoming important if we do end up turning this into an A wave low and not the actual end of the entire correction. But yeah, I'm looking for one more big short. I'll go back and explain that wave count in a moment. I want to focus on a couple of other important topics today as well. First, I must step away for just 2 minutes. And then I want to get on crude. I left that on there because it was so beautiful, but I think it's time to remove it. It's amazing how much more smoothly this thing runs now. It's quite incredible. It's like night and day. So it wasn't just the RAM, huh? I mean, I think most of it was probably the display update speed, the response time. The faster the response time, the more time it takes for Ninja to process those movements, tick movements. If it's a little bit lower, then it gives it a bit of a buffer. And it lets it process some movements that don't necessarily have to be visualized. If you know what I mean. But yeah, the XMP profile does make quite a difference, actually. As far as snappiness. Yeah, I wish you would have seen it and have it, on your computer right this second, but another day bites the dust. It's all right though. I'm literally compiling the files at this stage. So I ended up having to roll over manually by editing the workspace files. I don't know if you guys have seen an issue with rollover, but it's not very easy, is it? It's kind of Ninja in general, but, well, when you have 13 charts per workspace, it can be a bit of an issue as well. All right, let's do this. I'm going to step away for just 1 minute after I check this chart right here. All right, so technically we've hit the area. Yes and no. Right? We've hit the downsloping channel, but not the upsloping one at all. Huh. You've hit the downsloping channel on the tick chart as well. I don't know if the short has already happened. Well, Either way, it will have to make it to at least 3301. Well, 2998 basically. Right there. And it's not going to be the smoothest looking channel. I mean, it's not going to be a perfect correction. It's going to be iffy slightly. But what do we do in this case when there's such dramatic momentum divergence? We use the midline, don't we? The midline, yeah. Alright, interesting. Just happens to be right there. So we shall color that one quite yellow. Indeed, love. Quite yellow. Get ready for the short trade. Thank you. Alright. Cheerio. Be back in 2 minutes. Alright. Be right back. It's a good question, Miss Sandy. You still there? So, if you are, just give me a why. Miss Sandy's asking. Thank you. How do I remove the older charts? And when do I change the row bar settings? So, I'm okay. So yesterday, after I shut down, I had a number of things that I had to go and take care of, which I'd rather not discuss. But yeah, well, I let myself get a little lethargic sitting behind this desk. I'm not exactly fat. I mean, I'm only 180, or no, I'm 174. Most of which is actually muscle, believe it or not. But I used to be like a heavy weightlifter, if you can believe it. I used to power lift in high school and won all sort of competitions. For some reason, little short guys can do that. I don't know why. So I'm only 5'6" and 5'6" and 3/4. I like to say 5'6" and 7/8, but I guess that's partly because my hair sticks up a little. I get real thick hair, so I always tell them don't push that thing down so hard. Just let it kind of float, so we get a good reading. And I used to work out every single day, and right, you don't have to lift the weights as high. Yeah, so now I can't lift the weights as high, especially now because evidently I'm not as tall as I used to be either. I think that's because I got a haircut though. So anyway, always had high cholesterol ever since I was a kid. And to be quite frank with you, I don't believe it's as bad a thing as the medical establishment thinks it is. So many things are made from cholesterol, aren't they? All of your hormones are made from cholesterol, which is probably why I was able to lift as much weight as I was able to when I was younger. But anyway, I kept that up for years and years until about 4 years ago. And then I just stopped working out. Well, that had an adverse effect on the old heart. So did stress. And they put me on statins, which I have stopped taking, thankfully. Excuse me, because those are what made everything worse. Don't do statins. No Lipitor, no more. So, yeah, I had to get a physical checkup and do the old stress test again, which I didn't pass a while ago. After what I thought was a heart attack was nothing but a panic attack. But it wasn't looking so good for old Daniel there for a little while. But thankfully, I passed it with flying colors yesterday. And he goes, "Wow, that Lipitor must be working." I said, "No, sir, it is not." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I'm not taking that crap. It's garbage. It's poison." And he looked flabbergasted. I was like, "You really think it's a good thing to trick your body into getting rid of the cholesterol that it's producing for a reason?" He goes, "Well, your arteries are clogged up a little bit." I said, "Yeah, well, let's do another one of those nuclear tests then, and let's see." So that's scheduled for next week. Been taking a lot of niacin. So I did have cold hands and feet there for a little while, which was freaking me out. And since I've been taking all that niacin and fish oil and the good kind of magnesium, I'm like, no more cold hands and feet, no more pain in the joints. I'm not running yet, but I am walking a bit more. And thankfully, Miss Katie is setting an alarm clock, believe it or not, at midnight to make sure that I am in bed. And she woke up at 11:45 and said, "What are you doing up?" I said, "I got to get this update out or else I'm in deep doo-doo." And she said, "That can wait. Your health is more important." So she made me go to bed. Thank the Lord. But I've turned off all communication, basically, more or less. Yesterday and this morning, and believe it or not, I'm actually quite close to this full entire release. It's just that what I thought was done was not done. I had to go back and change some things that I thought were already completed. Probably because I did them late at night, exhausted. So there will be no more of that. This is a very, very interesting spot. Don't get fooled by this little retracement here. It looks as though it's about to go straight down. I think this is going to do a C wave low here, which we're going to look at on the 5-minute momentarily. And then we're going to get one more pop up. I very much hope and wish and pray. But anyhow, that's what I was doing for the better part of the afternoon. And yeah, so I'm in much better condition than I was a year ago, even without exercise, but with changing diet and doing some of the things that, you know, I should have been doing. I can't honestly tell you that I had been sleeping more, but as of recently, I definitely have been. It's amazing what a little extra sleep will do for you. Yeah, for sure. Rest is certainly the key, and I've known that, and yet, you know, it's not a good feeling to commit to things that just aren't possible and then not be able to deliver. It's quite a rough feeling. So after this update, there will be no more promises of delivery on updates on this day or hour or whatever. This is the update that you're about to get is probably the last one for 2020. The only other ones we'll have will be bug fixes and workspace updates. But one of the things that I'm working on in tandem is how to automate the changing or the updating rather of the row bars and the tick chart values. So currently we've got a spreadsheet which is manually updated. You know, the end version of the row bars and the tick bars that I'll create will update from a database so that they're not dependent upon the values determined by your data, but by the best data which I've subscribed to. Nonetheless, it doesn't matter what your row bars or tick chart values are because the readers are not tied to that anymore. The readers are simply tied to the name of the chart, this name here, but which name is set, tag, let's call it, right there. See how it says min4 there for the toolbar source chart tag? So that's the min4 chart. It can be a 30-minute for the ES, or it can be a 60-minute for the bonds. All right, we're about to get this potential long here. Let me hurry up and get on this. So all of that to say that when I send this update out today, and I know I said that yesterday, but, you know, always thinking that I'm capable of doing much more than is humanly possible, I say these things knowing that I'm hearing myself say it, and yet I say it anyway. Maybe that's some sort of psychological retardation or some sort of whatever. But yeah, it's something I should definitely never ever do again. There it is. Should he go long? Eesh. Oh, I'm going to be a nervous wreck if I try to go long here. Let's have a look at this one here. Interesting. It looks like an ABC if I've ever seen one. I should be long right now. I've got a long signal on the row 2, which means this is at least a setup on the 10-minute chart, but it's also a setup on the 1 minute. So it's going to show up on the row 1 as well. And that's what I want to get into today. And it is indeed. So IQ feed has the best data. But boy, do they charge for it. And if you are buying IQ feed, see, I've got the long signal. I'm not going to take it because, well, I'm just not quite prepared, am I? But yeah, that's a valid long. It just looks like it's not, doesn't it? Oversold on the RTH VWAP below the second standard deviation, and below the third standard deviation, which doesn't occur all that often. It usually will only occur within the first 2 hours of the morning. That doesn't make sense. When it occurs, most often it occurs within the first 2. And there's your 2-bar pattern on the road too. So, I'd prefer to see this thing slow down and come down just a little bit more, maybe give me a divergence on the tick 1. It's just not possible on the tick 1 right now. Okay, well, let's just think about it. Starting to throw over the channel.
Order filled.
Starting to throw over the channel. Looks like it's going straight down from here. And it probably will, and I'll get stopped out, and that'll be fine. I will get into one more, though.
Order submitted.
Just come a little bit lower. I'll get back to what I was talking about in a moment. Let me focus for un momento. Yeah, I'm lagging just a tiny bit. It's not nearly as bad as yesterday. So I've still got something in the way of the CPU not turboing up. See, I didn't tweak any of that because I'm scared to. Yeah, this is clearly lagging slightly. We just see by how much.
Order filled.
And this is what happened yesterday. I think it's because I have too many days back on this row too. Let me see if I can just take a picture of it so I can document this. Yeah, I have to have at least one object to be able to export it. Okay. It's a very tight stop, but does it need to be any bigger than that? No, really doesn't. And then this will probably be one of the very few cases you'll see me stop and reverse at the high, which will have to be above 32.97, 98. It would have been nice to see it break this low, but if it does that, it wouldn't be in the position that I had thought it was in which I had thought it was. Whatever. That's the exact thing that I watched, Sergi. Not only that, but I mean, when a doctor gives me pills, I immediately say no. But he's like, Daniel, just do it, just for a month or two. You know, what do you have to lose? It's not going to kill you in 2 months. You need to lower your cholesterol. It's like, oh, all right. He's like, you probably put worse in your body than this, I'm sure. I said, what makes you think that? Who do you think you are? Thought you were my doctor. What, are you going to bash me now, Mr. Negative? Yeah, right. Now it makes you want to eat more butter, right? It's amazing how the French people don't have near the problems or heart disease that Americans do. Of course, they walk everywhere they go, mostly when you live in the big city. This is really what's looking so good. Check this out. Now you've got a 2-bar pattern on the tick 1. And see how it just went away? Isn't that something? That's what I mean by intra-bar. You can get some beautiful setups, and then you recalculate and they're gone, because by the time the bar closed, the signal is gone. And when you recalculate, it's taking the final signal of the closed bar. And now we have a 2-bar pattern again on the row 2. And see, it just went away, but it's hanging on to it because it's not quite closed yet. When it closes, that should go away. Sorry, Gordon. We'll have all of these videos up on YouTube, the whole five-day series. I'll try to cut out some of this nonsense that I started off with. So that it's mostly training, which is the way it should be. So this one ought to go pretty high. Let's look at the total risk to reward at this moment. Doesn't look like the brightest trade I've ever taken, but I know what the pattern should look like in order for it to be an acceptable trade to the downside, and it's not there yet. Well, certainly not here. One more high and it will definitely be so. So the gap is at 32.28-ish. $33.28 or so, sorry. Well, let's say that I take one off on a break at the high. And then I take one off at 31.20. I'm not very confident in this trade, but you know, I've got to hold it. So that'll be a 10-1. See this R multiple here? Sorry, 9 to 1. My stop is entirely too close, though. All right, let me shut up for a minute and think. I'll get back to your questions and finishing that. Back to IQ feed, though, quickly. They evidently have a 2-year plan that you can sign up for, as long as you're not signing up with your business account. All right, you can sign up with your personal account and still write it off through your business. You guys know that. Just because you use your personal account doesn't mean that you can't write it off. You just have to account for it when you do your accounting, when you do your bookkeeping. So don't pay for it with your LLC account, your business account. Pay for the IQ feed subscription via your personal account, and you can get a 2-year plan, but you have to pay for it all up front, and it will come out to about the same price that Kinetic is per month, which is about $70 per month. Okay. Or you can just get Kinetic, which is white labeled IQ feed. It's missing a few things. It's missing something to do with recorded bid ask data, like the maximum. So you still get historical bid ask data, but it's not as accurate as would be coming from IQ feed. It's one level less. It's not like level 1, level 2, level 3, or whatever. At least I don't think that's how they classify that. It's however you want to call it. It's 1 degree less precise using Kinetic than it is IQ feed. So that was one of the distinguishing factors that IQ feed made when they allowed NinjaTrader to white label their data under the brand Kinetic. Okay, so Kinetic will run you about $67 a month to get all of the futures exchanges that we need, plus $4 for the NYSE, $4 for, and the NYSE also includes the S&P, I believe. Maybe it's an extra $2 or $3 for the S&P stocks, and then maybe it's an extra $4 for the CompX, the actual NASDAQ 2000 or 3000, 2000. I can't remember. And then the Russell 2000. The NASDAQ 100, I believe, comes with the NYSE, New York Stock Exchange. So those 100 stocks, I think, are included with that NYSE. And then if you wanted to add Forex to that, it's an extra $20 a month for Kinetic. So you're looking at about $90 a month, give or take, for all of the futures that you'll need, most stocks, and most Forex pairs. Let's say the biggest or the largest 10 pairs or 8 pairs for $20 a month. So all of that I just described would cost you about 90 something bucks. With IQ feed, you're looking at close to about 160, 175 per month. But again, it's the best data. What we're most the thing that we need to be the most accurate is the tick data. And that's where most other platforms fall short, because they're not C# based or C++ based. Anything that's like, well, I don't know. There's that, what is it called? The Waves platform. I can't think of the name of it. It's become really, really good. Motive Wave, yeah. So they have become quite the platform. I remember I had bought it years and years ago, and I was very unimpressed. But the development team they have behind that is second to none. I want to say they use JavaScript, though, or something like that. Not super efficient. And yet, it is one of the most responsive, fastest platforms out there. So I don't know how they manage that, but I know why they did it. A portion of it is sort of web-based so that you're not getting all of the code, and they're able to lock it down tight so nobody can steal their uh, intellectual capital. Whereas with something like NinjaTrader, you're getting the whole entire platform downloaded and installed on your PC. And that's the one that if somebody wants the code and they know how to get it, they're going to get it. It's just a matter of time. That's why, it's basically just a fool's errand to worry about your code being hacked these days, because if somebody wants it, they're going to get it. But there are ways to secure it a little bit more to make it more difficult for people to steal it, which is what we've done. But yeah, Motive Wave is really quite the excellent platform. And I don't know why I started to. Okay, yeah. So the reason I started talking about that is all of these platforms that are web based, and this is maybe a lot of information that most people don't even care about, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. Uh, all of the web based platforms, they will never have tick data that is accurate. Most of them will never even have tick data at all, because tick data is, for one thing, it comes in incredibly fast. It's very, very heavy. And it's one thing to distribute it to a C# platform that's installed, or a C++ platform, or JavaScript platform, whatever, that's installed on your actual computer hardware. It's quite another thing to show that tick data on a web app that, say, 30,000 people are all looking at the same page or the same chart at the same time. That requires an infrastructure that most people will just never afford, never be able to. So that's why with anytime I try to think of a name, I can't think of it. What's the web base that everyone's moving to that people can share their charts? You know, like you can download people's charts, kind of what I'm doing with Analysis Live, but to a much lesser degree. It's all manual. Trading View, they do not have tick data. Yeah, they don't have tick data, and you wonder why. Well, it's because it's the most cumbersome thing. It's the heaviest thing for them to transmit to various people all at the same time. So they have 1 minute bars, and they'll never have tick data, never ever. Yeah, what is Tradeovate? Tradeovate, I thought was just a bridge, isn't it? Doesn't it bridge applications for brokerage use? But yeah, TradingView is the web app that I'm thinking of, and they'll never have tick data. So the most important thing is for us to have the best data that we can possibly have. It's the most important piece to the puzzle. We want accurate data, especially for back testing. Not that I recommend you start getting into backtesting, but for the things that I have to do in development and testing and all of that, I need to have accurate data. When you download market replay data, forget about it. That's not good tick data. It's garbage. But thankfully now Ninja has the ability to use your historically saved tick data and use that to run market replay, which is why I'm building this server. Hi, Charles. Why I'm building this server. Yeah, I hear you, buddy. Why I'm building the server to start recording as many instruments as I possibly can without the charts being visible. So anyway, long story short, tick data is key, and it would be highly productive and efficient if we all had the same tick data, which is why I must recommend that you use Kinetic or IQ Feed. Just know that if you go IQ Feed, it also comes with a data downloader, which makes downloading and populating the charts with tick data just ever so slightly faster. It's not super noticeable, but if you have just a slight lag, it can make the difference between no lag and a slight lag. But you're going to pay for it unless you get that 2-year plan. That's the problem with that. But I'm going to call those guys and see if I can't work out some sort of a deal. There's no telling how many people I've brought to Ninja and Kinetic over the years. And, I get hardly any benefit whatsoever from that. They almost treat us like criminals. Makes you wonder why I even bother. Certainly don't get any special treatment. However, that's not entirely true. They do give me one license that's good for NinjaTrader for as long as I'm a partner, quote unquote partner. Well, they can't call us partners now. So I guess we're called ecosystem people. Anyway, I can't talk bad about, the people who own the platform for which my software runs and upon whom I am totally dependent. What a foolish thing that would be to do. Hey, by the way, guys, NinjaTrader, yeah, not so brilliant. Let's just stop that right now. But I tell you, they have a C# platform, however buggy it's been, and I will say that I know many a vendor that's gone bankrupt because of the move from Ninja 7 to Ninja 8, but we're not going that route. It's just not in the cards for TTP, so at least I pray it's not, unless he has other plans for me. But I'll do whatever I can to make sure that doesn't happen. I do know that he laughs at the plans of men, so it's a little frightening. Just really hope he's not laughing at mine right now. Yeah, John. I love you, Jorge. Can I say that in a British accent? Excuse me, sir. Are you moving your stop loss? Excuse me, but your stop loss seems to be in the same exact position it was when you began the trade. Pardon me. Yeah, I reckon I ought to tighten that thing up. Tighten that thing up. What do you reckon? Yes. I don't want to be foolish about it, but in this case, because it is already overthrown that channel, which let me move to that chart. Because we did throw over that channel by such a scary amount, I'm a bit leery of it. That's the 50% retracement. I mean, that's got to be the point of control of this whole uh, pattern up here. So let's just see. Where is that? Right from here? Well, it's the VWAP anyway. I'm taking one off right there.
Target filled.
And I'll tighten this up behind that. I'm not turning Blackbird on until I figure out what's going on with this performance. It's a good one, Han. I have done. It's been the whole purpose behind what I've done. But still, he can decide what he wants. And he does what he wants, not me. All I know is that dreams don't pay the bills. But then again, I haven't exactly been totally reliant as I should have been, which is probably why uh, I've been a little humbled. I needed a slice of humble pie. I think we all do from time to time, huh? And to be quite frank with you guys, if you're not a Christian, I really don't care. I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. If you don't like it, then this is not the room for you. And that's all I've got to say about that. Tell you what, I've sure seen some weird things lately. Well, here's one example. Well, never mind. Let's focus on trading for a moment. I got to get on the CL. I'm just like really absorbed by this ES trade here. I don't think it's going to make it up to 30. I do think it may make it up to the top of that channel, though. Uh-oh. Man, quite interesting, this tick chart today. Uh-oh. Isn't that bizarre? I don't know how much of this is my graphics card and how much is Ninja. Um, I uploaded that, but I don't. Let me take care of that real quick. So I did take one off, thankfully. I'm leaving enough room to come back into that median line. That's really not enough room. That's enough room. Yeah, that's really weird looking. How bizarre. Hmm. What is this? Trace. Do these two. And then, sorry, I'm on the microphone. Hang on. Let me just mute myself for 1 second. $33.08. Previous week's close. Oh, no kidding. Okay, good. Yeah, this is wave 2 low. And now I need to see a 3, 4, 5. Let's see. Let me delete all that actually. Make sure I don't delete everything from the workspace again. Aha. That is that rare old bug. Thought that was gone months and months ago. This is the one that's troublesome. I swear that's something to do with these displays being scaled. So this is a 1440p monitor, but it's scaled up to 125%. And anytime you start messing with the scaling, Ninja doesn't seem to like it. It can handle it as long as you restart the program, but you'll still see some odd behavior from time to time. And now I have a load that I can back this up behind, because if it comes back down in what may or may not be a C wave, well, you don't really have a whole lot of room before you take out my entry price. Plus, it's kind of a sharp move back up, huh? So I'm ready. I'm ready to see this thing hit 32.95 in the next 20 minutes. Dang. Profit factor of 6. I don't know if I believe that. Robert, are you lying to me? 82% profitable? Goodness gracious, man. We need to stick that in my spreadsheet. Over how many days? Goodness gracious. So Ninja counts each trade. Sorry, Ninja counts each contract as a single trade, huh? One contract, one trade. Rod, are you in here? I'm not going to say anything you don't want me to. I just wanted to address one thing secretively. How many trades is that actually? And you can post in private Slack. Can't believe it's that high a winning percentage and it's still a 1.3 win-loss ratio. Uh, commission doesn't really even matter with 34 contracts, round turns. That's just incredible. So that's the difference between using a much larger stop. Huh. That's the kind of work I want to do. Yeah, keep that up, huh? I want to see once you break actual 100 real trades, independent of number of contracts, like however many contracts you're taking. You're only taking 2 contracts, I imagine, so that's at least 17 trades. All right, this ought to be going up, 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 but this is the point at which it may fail right now. You see it? 2-bar pattern into that. You have high, yeah, Kevin. I'd show it to you if he gave me permission, but I'm not going to do that. I'll talk to him this afternoon, and then those are some of the things that I want to go over Thursday, Friday. But essentially, yeah, larger stop, higher number of winning percentage, the higher the probability to win. So the higher percentage of winning trades, right? But the lower the win-loss ratio by default, always. And Danny Boy's going to close it right there.
Target filled.
Not taking any chances with this because it's in a precarious position. But because I did that, you guys that are long should probably stay long, because even though it's a sim trade, you know they're hunting my trades. That was a joke, by the way. But I've literally had people tell me that. I know I'm trading in sim, but I swear they're hunting my stops. Those bastards. It's like they're toying with me. I wish I were joking. Unfortunately, well, never mind. I can't talk like that anymore. I'll get arrested. Who knows what is classified as hate speech nowadays? Nothing to do with race or anything like that, but evidently you can't call someone what is the scientific classification of someone with an IQ below 60. It's just not allowed. We must all get participation medals, adults included, and we're all equal no matter what. Not under the law, because we are. That's a given. I mean, equal in every respect. It's just that men can't have babies. I mean, that's where the major difference is. Women are actually magical beings, whereas us men, we're just brutes. Think of that. She can make a human. That's magical. God, I love women. What an amazing creature. Yeah, so now that I've closed that, it's going to go probably to 30-30. And you're welcome. Interesting. Very, very interesting. That's right up there at the top of that channel, too. If we break on through to the other side. Wait a second. Sounds familiar. If we break through all of this madness here, which is just lines, they're just lines, then the top of that channel is pretty likely, huh? Look at this guy. Look at this guy just drawing lines on his charts and thinking he's cool. Well, I tell you, something to it. Strangely enough, there is most definitely something to it. I'll export that anyway. I mean, even as small as that looks, that was still $1,000. It's crazy, isn't it? No, that release is not out soon, Samir. This release that's coming will be 100% readers working flawlessly. However, there's something affecting rollover that's really bothering me. I don't know if I talked about this yesterday, but I'm sure you guys have experienced where you try to roll over a contract. If you're connected to the data feed, just forget about it. It's almost easier to just edit the actual workspace XML file, really. So there's something weird there, and I want to say that it's probably the readers because they're trying to recalculate as you're changing the contract. You know, I'm not sure, but I figured, well, we could at least put some kind of a checkbox on the reader manager that would disable it temporarily while checked, and I could see. So I wanted him to do that today, but you know, it's like my grandmother always told me, wish in one hand, and oh, never mind. But yeah, that is the next thing that we're doing. I can't give you a date on that, and please don't ask me for any more dates because I'll lie to you. Not that I want to, but I'll give you a date that I think is possible, but it won't be the truth. Maybe once in a blue moon I'll hit it, but I'll tell you this much: when this release goes out later today, then we'll have the workspaces, templates, and DLLs 100% totally separated. whereas it just appeared as though they were before. There were still quite a few files mixed in with the DLL's installers. So now we've got them split up 100% separate from one another. And if there's ever an update or a patch or a hot fix, that installer will go out immediately. So that if we have new DLLs here that are verified, you guys will have new DLLs immediately. And there'll never be any of this waiting for Daniel to experiment for 37 days to find the best combination of settings for the best possible signals that he must test in real time and historical. With 12 monkeys on his back screaming at him and banging cymbals together, making fun of him. Madness comes in many forms. John's saying he hasn't had a problem with 3 workspaces open with rollover, but with 4, were you connected to the data feed? You were connected to the data feed and you still didn't have trouble? Huh. Well, do you have Bloodhound on the charts? You do. Okay, well, that's interesting. It kind of confirms for me what the problem is. The DLLs that you have are from August? No, they're from July. Yeah, it looks like this thing's about to take off. It may not, though, and look at this. 1 minute chart. Just as easily an ABC back up. 1 down, 2 back up. So, okay. This is big 1, big 2. This is just a possibility now. I'm not saying, end all be all, but this smaller 1, smaller 2, I know it doesn't look like it, but you can tell that that's a thicker 1. At least. Maybe I should make these a little bit smaller. Don't think I need to take the time to do that, though, at this point. So this is what it could be. And I don't doubt it, but I don't doubt the possibility. So it's almost 11 o'clock, and I still haven't really touched CL. So let me take about a 5-minute break. I got a call. Our developer, he may already be gone. And just have a little conversation. and then sorry, and then I was thinking about what I was going to say, but and then we'll do crude. Another reason that set up as well as it did. Surprised I didn't see that in real time. No, I'm not, because I've just been talking 90 miles an hour about everything other than trading. Tomorrow will not be like this. Tomorrow it's going to be nothing but trading, 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 training, training, training as well. Have a little faith. I think I can manage to follow through with that one. This should not be in yellow, in fact. No, it should not. Oh, that's the trash man. I'll be right back. I got to get the trash can out. Katie's going to kill me. Well, that looks more like what I was hoping for. So I'd say we are in the third wave up. Naturally, I'm sort of, and I did say I was going to hold it to the target and didn't do it. So that's not, it's not trading according to plan, but nonetheless, even that little move is quite valuable. But given the risk that I had put on initially, not quite worth it per se. Not really, no. It's kind of the problem of trading in front of people, which Bo has had a taste of now, and yet is still doing quite well. So I'm quite proud of him, actually. He's done phenomenal. Well, he's done phenomenally. This is probably the most difficult thing. Trading is difficult as it is, but then to trade and do analysis and do the videos as he's been doing and still do well. He's obviously the right man for the job. I'm just glad I have somebody to help me while I've been struggling to get things done here. Yeah, sorry, I had a call for a second. I had to answer momentarily. So that's already the 50% retracement in crude. I don't think that's the high. I hope it's not. I think we have a double three in the making, and we've made the first A wave up. I am expecting more down in crude for sure. I do believe that is a B wave high, A wave down. So we're clearly looking for, pardon me, I had called this the end of wave one down of 5 of C, which would mean, and maybe I have the nomenclature wrong, but whatever. At least I've got numbers and such. I'm thinking this is what we're about to experience, and I was hoping it would happen today. that we could get into this wave 2. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. We'll put this over here. So I'd like to see it's already the 50. I want to see us go deeper inside of this sideways move. That 61.8 would be perfect because that would take us inside of these lows, this previous high, and then what else? Yeah, the heart of that volume spike low area, which is on the previous contract. Yeah, it's on the previous contract, I think. Yeah. So maybe that's less important, but this is important over here because it gapped up into that high. That was a Sunday night there, I believe, on the 16th. And then, no, it was not. Well, how did that gap up then? Oh, yeah, 5 o'clock gap. Right. Okay. So that is a gap from there. Let's see, it opened there. Nope, it opened here. We're already in the sweet spot, and it's already turned down from it. This is maybe a tick higher or two than that previous one. So maybe it is done there. I just can't find a whole lot of reason. Well, let's look at the tick chart first before I come to any sort of conclusion. It looks done. It does. It really does. It looks like it's about to head straight down. Shish kebab. $78.6. All right. Come on. 78.6 at 47. 57 to 63. If we can not go below 39.50, I have a feeling I'm going to be disappointed in this one. All right, well, let me set it up anyway. I should have left that 78.6 there because that's one that we'll often see in crude. It's the one that likes to well, now that's not right. He fixed that. And then he obviously unfixed it. Anyway. I think word is right. I'm going to delete this lower one. It's just too many lines. All right, I really want it to stop right here. It doesn't look like it's going to, but boy, if it does, we are going to have quite the perfect setup for a wave 2 short in crude that I think is going to look so nice. It will be almost as if a smaller, no, it won't be smaller. It'll be a larger example of what we saw Sunday night when I was doing that in real time. So the fact that this lower down sloping upper median line is lining up with these lower highs here, that's a pretty good indication that if we were to come back into it, I was about to say it's a pretty good indication that we will come back into it, but that's not a true statement necessarily. But if we were to go back into it, that would be the spot right there. That would surely be the spot. I'm just going to go ahead and delete the rest of that. We've got, it doesn't have to break this high. It would help in that we would run some stops and then we'd actually be inside of these two lows. Okay, but once we hit that 61.8, you'll be inside of this low and these two highs above them. And that's really good enough as far as the profile is concerned. And that's really, honestly, as far as the volume profile goes, I don't use it for much more other than that. Just to kind of confirm where the dense pockets of volume are. The recent dense pockets of volume, especially in crude because it rolls over every 30 days, people will look at volume profiles on a weekly chart or daily chart of crude oil as if it is somehow significant. Well, all of those contracts are dead, expired, delivered. Maybe you could suggest that because there are a number of people that use it, therefore self-fulfilling prophecy, blah, 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 blah. But that's not what the theory states. The theory states that there are still people in some of these positions that they've put on in the recent past. And when you come into an area where there is a dense number of traders that have swapped contracts, or let's say there are a dense number of contracts that have changed hands, the lower bound of that, or the lower edge, the upper edge, can act as significant support or resistance. And I just use that to add weight to a trade. It's not a requirement for a trade, but I'll get into that trade feeling a little more comfortable if I have that as I was going to say confirmation. It's not really confirmation. It's just if I were to grade these on a point scale, I would add a couple of extra points. You know what I mean? So let's say the market geometry hitting one median line, hitting one upper or lower median line, or a baseline or a channel line, let's call that +2. Hitting the center median line or the midline, I'd say +1.5. Hitting an area in the volume profile, I would say +1, if you catch my drift, as far as weighting is concerned. And at some stage, I will have that built into what will be Bloodhound templates. I will have what I have currently in Bloodhound templates built out in such a way that it'll be basically an indicator, but it'll be a strategy type indicator that will allow you to assign weights to these things such that you can build your own weighting system and not have to learn, well, how is it that I use these additive nodes again? And, you know, it'll all be pretty straightforward. Bloodhound, as simple as though it may appear, it's got a learning curve of its own. Not nearly as bad as learning how to code, but still not one that most people have time for. I was lucky in that I had just recently gotten dismissed, shall we say, from my job in Ecuador. Last in, first out. But, you know, who was the idiot that put me in charge of $500,000? Wasn't me. It's called having a little too much faith in someone. Yeah, I did good in school, you know, whoop-de-doo. So I know how to learn. Okay, great. Teach yourself how to trade. Let's see how you do. And then buy all the wrong courses, all the wrong books. Learn all that stuff backwards and forwards as if it's gospel. And then live by that for about 4 years. And then get to the point to where you've got enough time on your hands to learn Bloodhound and their what was previously Raven, which they still have, in order to build these rules out so that you can test them. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I have spent the last 6 years of my life dedicated to concepts that have nothing to do with any statistical significance whatsoever, that cannot possibly make money. And that's when, the depression kicks in a little bit. And then you've got to learn to throw all that stuff out. And whew, it's a little difficult to throw out a $10,000 system. Because, you know, it's a Cadillac. You don't want to throw away that Cadillac. I think they need to rename that syndrome, huh? Cadillacs are not what they used to be. Maybe they should call it the Ferrari syndrome. But you know what I'm saying. That's why some people will price their stuff so out of the range of people's pocketbooks that they feel as though they have to have it because it must be the best because it is the highest priced system. When in fact, it's a sales tactic. It's a marketing tactic. Well, I didn't know all those things. Now that I do, I can spot them a mile away. And yet by the end of their presentations, I still want to buy their stuff. Goodness gracious. I swear that NLP stuff, it really does a number on the old brain. And there are some marketing masters out there that can talk me out of my lack of lack of funds, such that by the end of the presentation, they've even got me sold. Can anyone relate? It's like, well, I know this is probably garbage, but man, he's a really good salesman. Yep, I know. He's one of many. I tell you, though, he's good, huh? Sorry, I'm not going to name him. I'm sure you all can name 5 or 6. I don't want to be in the business of bashing other people, but, you know, the fact is that most of the clientele or average customer happens to be someone beyond the age of 55 that is either retired or on the verge of retiring, and they've set aside X amount of money to live on. They see all this money being printed and they're worried. They know that their money that they've saved is not going to be worth what it used to. And so they want to supplement their retirement so that he and his wife can live, or I guess I have to say now, he and his potential husband, so that he and his partner can live comfortably into their old age. And they want to supplement their income. And they think that trading is the key because of all these marketers. I think there's laws against preying on the elderly, abuse of the elderly. There used to be. I just would not want to stand before God and knowingly having done that and answer for it. I just don't want to experience what that's going to look like. It's probably not going to look very nice. But, you know, Dawkins says that people like me are fools to believe that there could even be a God. I say the only fool in the picture is people like him that are so adamantly positive that there isn't. And yet he'll say, you know, it could be that aliens seeded the earth. That's a plausible. What a moron. It'd be interesting to see the reasons for why he believes so adamantly against a judge. I would imagine we would find some pretty despicable deeds in his late evenings. All right, we're coming up on a potential long and crude. That's a 2-bar pattern on the tick 2. That is usually quite, well, you see the most recent one we had? Where is it? Dun, dun, dun. Right there. That was a pretty big one, mind you. Kind of curious. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, why is it showing up as a not an extreme climax, but just a normal climax? It's because of these preceding really wide-ranging bars. In this case, the range just barely broke beyond the threshold of still being allowed to be called a churn bar. Yeah, that's the part that I love, Howard. I am not rambling. How dare you? How dare you? Yeah, you're right. I think maybe you should move into. We should get an office together, John. You should have to move here. I may force you to do that. I may require that of you someday, John. Be ready. We won't use a bullwhip, but maybe a cane or a belt buckle or something. Or just a real big, thick ruler. You can just shut up. I'm scared to take it, but that's a potential long. I would be buying into what could possibly be the beginning of a third wave down. Oh. I'm sorry, but I think I have to do it. I don't have the signal on the road to. It's a bit of a straight shot move into it. The row ones had a long signal for the past several bars. I shouldn't say a long signal. It's a potential long. What's interesting, though, is that we had a potential short just before that. Okay, this is what I was hoping would happen so that I didn't take a bad trade. Now, if this turns into a churn bar, oh, that's not what I was looking for. I got to see some kind of sign of demand. All right, what do we have here? We've taken out that low, right? It's a pretty good looking high that we made. Would it be foolish to go long right here? Not at all. It doesn't look all that great, but it doesn't look all that bad either. So why am I doing this? Because I think that first wave up that we made the high this morning around 8:30 is either an A or a W. And the fact that we've just ticked out that prior low before that, and we've just run the stops, which is why we got that sharp little push. Granted, it doesn't look exactly like I would want it to look. The final bar after which I took, I went long, does no longer have the long signal. So the chances of this working out are a little lower than normal. But still high enough that I'm willing to take that risk. And frankly, it's $100,000, and what, $8,000-9,000 sim account. So I can handle 2 contracts, believe me, on a mediocre-ish trade that still has potential enough to put on risk. Does that make sense? So when I say that, what I'm saying is, although it's not picture perfect, it looks well enough that I'm willing to put on some risk in order to potentially hit that 9 or 10 to 1, even though the likelihood of that is a bit lower than normal. I wish I could give you a number on it and tell you exactly what that number is, but unfortunately I can't. And all of these signals to the left of right here, this short, which evidently I could have been a part of, and this one as well, had I not been focused on that ES trade, which trade I'm glad I did focus on. All of these to the left of that are historical and would not have looked like that in real time. So you cannot go by anything to the left of the real-time signals, unfortunately, just because of the design of the system. It's a real-time system. This is what I wanted to see, in fact, was a sign of strength. Come back, test the low, preferably just barely ticking it out, and then turning back up. I don't like these straight shot moves without any sign of waning momentum or, preferably a sign of strength in the direction that I'm trading just before I initiate the trade. So I want to see the sign of strength, as we've just seen, barely. And then I want to come back and test the low, tick it out, run some stops, and immediately reject to the upside. And then I'll be convinced that, okay, I'm in a decent enough trade. I can tighten my stop at that point. Right now, it's done that, except for the last half, which is immediately rejecting back above that prior low, which I must see now. Okay. And now I need an up bar. I need a reversal bar. It's in a downtrend, so I want to reverse that back up. And then I can look for a new high. But it's not doing it. Yeah, well, can't always get what you want, but you can try sometimes. 28.16. It's only a 12 tick stop. Quite tight, too tight, in fact, potentially. But, you know, do I want to lose more than that on a mediocre trade? Not really. Not really. This is what's keeping me in it. Well, this is the main reason I took it. Just trying to think of what, you know, I've got a sneaking suspicion that this is a 1-2-1-2, and we're about to go into a third of a third that's going to go straight down. And I have bought long right into that. The reason I did that is because crude tends to retrace. I say tends to, and usually more often than I should. But crude, you do often see crude retrace 78.6 a lot for wave twos. At least the area between 61.8 and 78.6. For some reason, crude gets a lot of very deep retracements. I would say much more so than the ES. Each one has their own kind of unique characteristics that you've got to get used to. And once you've gotten used to them, well, then they change. Hey, my pleasure, Harold. My pleasure. How do you, Sergit's asking a very pertinent question. The ES trade was great. How do I go about learning how to do that so that I can better understand the application of the market geometry? Well, the fact is, we've been putting together a guide on the toolbar, which is not necessarily a guide on market geometry application. Excuse me, I think the best way to learn this is going to be in this analysis live. As Bo is posting videos, so too shall I begin posting videos after this week. Well, I'll have to post at least 3 or 4 with this update. They won't be concerning market geometry, but every day there will be several videos from the two of us. He and I, we're going to begin working together this week. However, that was assuming that I would have the update out on Sunday night. And, you know, if you had to set a clock by me, well, you'd be, what was that guy's name? Rumpelstiltskin? Who was the guy that went to sleep way out in the forest and never woke up till about 120 years later? That's what you'd be like. So don't try and set a clock by dates and times that I give. But once this, I'm just looking at this. I think I'm about to get stopped out here. But once I get these installers out, Bo and I will be working quite closely together. And then we'll be doing videos pretty regularly. And I mentioned in that email that I've been working on some technology that nobody else knows about. Well, I'm thinking that I'll be able to unleash that before the end of this week, and I'm not going to work on it again until after the updates are out. So I'll probably begin working on it again tomorrow, and that is going to afford us well, I'm not going to talk about it. But that tool is going to enable real-time training at any moment. So if I ever go live for a live stream, it will be within that app, and you'll know about it before it happens, as it's happening, and when it's done. And you'll be able to watch it, see it from there, post and ask questions pertinent to that video, that live stream, whatever it is. And at some stage, I imagine we'll be able to move the forum to that. It's just going to be really, really nice. It's amazing the apps that are coming out on a daily basis. Something like 60,000 per week. It's kind of nuts. But the only reason I know about it is that's about the only thing that I read. I used to read the news every morning. Now I just read about new technology, so as to not get totally uberly depressed. That will be part of Analysis Live. Yep. But it will also be part of the Sunday evening. It'll be interesting. You'll see how it'll work. Any communication with the public and with members will be done through that app. Any and all communications. It's going to be quite unique. But first, I must get this update out. But the guide that, to be quite honest with you, I haven't put much effort into it. Cedric and developer have been, which is the toolbar guide. But the guide on market geometry, I've never read anything more difficult to read and understand than that market geometry guide. It is like reading it's word salads what it is. And it's because I tasked a human that was maybe not the best writer, but at least understood the concepts to write it. And now it must be rewritten. And well, I've learned quite a lot since that market geometry guide was written, but it doesn't need to be in a written format either. We need to have a written format to accompany what will be a series of short and sweet training videos. You know, I've been talking about that for a little while, but now that I have NT8 actually working, I never imagined it would take 3.5 years. And I'm sure neither did those 428 other NinjaTrader ecosystem members, or whatever they call us now. Half of which are gone, by the way. If you care to go and click on 428 links, you'll see what I mean. But yeah, that early release of Ninja 8 pretty well wiped out quite a number of people. Just a quick question. How many of you guys know trading rooms that are still using NT7? I'm not telling you. I'm not going to tell you until it's ready. Anybody? So I've got one raised hand. Two. Yeah, I know of at least 7 that are still using NinjaTrader 7. I talked to 3 of them. And they say, well, I can't really find a programmer that's available, much less that can even do it. So, I mean, you got to think all the people that develop stuff for NT7, that was pretty old technology. I mean, that was 2004 technology, WinForms, um, quite a bit different than DirectX and Windows uh, something Foundation. What is it? Windows WPF? Windows Presentation Foundation. Yeah, right. They quote unquote retired. Yeah. Because they made so much money from trading. Mm. Not true, buddy. I'm not even sure what that means. It's only outdated if you plan to use anything new in T8's feature. Don't. You didn't run that through Google Translate, did you? So NT8 allows us to do things that NT7 is just simply not capable of. For one thing, multi-threading to use your computer's full potential. But if it's not programmed in such a way as to make use of that technology, well then, it's not going to be able to use that technology. You may as well be running NT7. So, like, I've got a 12 core PC now. I did take 2 monitors off of it today. Well, I'm not ever going to show my system again. I'm not ever going to show anything to do with my system or hardware or IP address or anything like that ever again. So you just forget I ever even mentioned anything about what it is I'm using. But for instance, if you have an 8-core PC, which is what basically the minimum number of cores are, I think soon no one will have a PC that has less than 8 cores. I think we'll see that within the next 3 years. I don't even think they'll make 4-core or 6-core PCs after next year. So I'm talking about the CPU now. So at some stage, they will begin shifting away from 32-bit altogether. That's why a lot of developers make their apps 32-bit instead of 64, because there are so many people out there with 10 and 12-year-old PCs, and they don't want to exclude them, right? Because that would be a dumb marketing move if you did exclude them. But with what we're trying to do is we're competing against the greatest minds in the world that have access to untold billions and technologies we can't even begin to fathom. Might be a good idea to update your hardware. And I'm not trying to be facetious or rude, but just if you got a 10-year-old computer, just consider upgrading. And I've told you that I would build out a list of specs. Well, turns out that PCPartPicker.com doesn't quite do as good a job as I thought it did, because the parts that I put together on it and put together, well, no, they didn't actually work together. Not very well at all. And I had to get some different parts that actually did work. So the one on newegg.com, which is kind of like Amazon for electronics, seems to work pretty well. And there's another one. What's that other store called that has it? Micro Center or something? John, you're not on Windows 2.1. You're lying. I don't even think there is a Windows 2.1, is there? Is that before XP? I think my mom is still on Windows XP, actually. I would say Windows 7 and 8 are totally out at this point if you're worried about security, which you should be. I can send you some videos that will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up if you're not. And you don't have to click on or do anything to get infected. And most of the time, you'll never even know that you are infected. Kind of like with COVID. But there is hope. You can build a let's say you can build a really amazing computer relatively affordably now. What you don't want to do is buy one of these OEM, ready-made specials from Hewlett Packard or Dell or what have you. The Dell XPS desktop is probably acceptable, but paying extra cash for one of those Dell Precisions, I had the worst experience of all time with those guys, with that Precision PC. Where you can run into trouble is when you start putting your monitors together and you go for the $330 monitor instead of the $110 monitor, and you're getting 6 of them. Well, that's where you can end up spending quite a bit of money. I would say if you're going to go multiple monitors and you really have to, 3 is more ergonomically better, however you say that, more ergonomic than 2. 2 is a bit strange to me, especially after going from 3 to 2 or from 6 to 4. So having one in the middle, one on the right, one on the left, that's supposedly the most efficient use of your brain and your eyes and whatnot. You don't want them so big that you've got to turn your head. I thought using the 32-inch monitor would be nice. It was not a nice experience. Not 3 32-inchers. 27, 28 is pretty good. I think it's even a little bit too big. I have now 25-inch monitors, and I think it's perfect. 24 is really the sweet spot. 22 to 24. And you can get 6 22-inch monitors for $600, even less. You don't need fancy, all this eye care stuff and blah, blah, blah. If you want fancy, get yourself a cheap monitor and then use one of these calibration tools. So I need to write up a proper article on that, which will go into our new blog that will be being made once I can this guy that's been just sifting money and doing nothing. That'll be the first article that I write. PC hardware, what to get, where to get it, and then how to find someone to build it for you in your hometown. And if you can't do that, well, then it may be that within the next couple of months, we have a service that does just that. Because I think I found the guy that can make that happen. Young kid, very, very brilliant. And he needs a job desperately. So start making our own little TTP computers, huh? Wouldn't that be cool? Well, that's just it. Maybe you don't need a 32-inch monitor. Maybe you just need to increase the scaling. A lot of I know one thing, you don't want a 32-inch monitor that is 1080p because the quality of the image is really not very good. I don't even know if they make a 32-inch 1080p monitor. I would imagine most of them are 4K or 2K. What would be 1440p instead of 1080? But you can adjust the scaling now that we've sorted all that scaling mess out. And it handles it just fine. True that, Kevin. True that. But maybe this kid can handle it. I don't know. We'll see. That would be all he'd be able to do, though. Build him and support him. And I tell you, people can sure mess up a computer in a heartbeat. But we may just make them, depending upon the person's request, unmess-upable. Well, that's an impossibility. But make it to where you can't tweak the BIOS, can't overclock it, can't burn it up. Only way you could burn it up is if you put a sweatshirt over it or something. Well, that's been a fun talk for the past 45 minutes on nothing related to trading other than hardware. It looks as if this trade is going to work out. I had thought it would, but I started second guessing it there for a moment. What I'm looking for now is I suppose an ABC up. Could be a straight 5-way move up above that right there. So anyway, I gotta go. Hey, baby. All right, guys, I gotta go. Y'all have a good afternoon, and I'll talk to you in the morning. Katie just came home to say hi. All right, I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye, everyone.